still, you know, cool out here. So there are a lot of bees inside that later will be foraging. And so I'm going to give them, you know, a little time to start. And then when we open it, see if you can wrap it a little bit. They'll dive down and eating it, not bothering us. And I like to put the lid in the front. That's just I take a look for hive. Alright, so here I had a space in here with no frames. And I can't remember what I was doing. Maybe I had a feeder in there or something. Well, they took advantage of it. Now this was attached to the lid, and at one time it was full of honey, and I couldn't do anything with it at that time because I was afraid if I took the lid off, it was, you know, the heat of summer, and I was afraid with the wax being fragile and heavy, that it would pull off, and then I'd have a huge mess. So here, I'm going to let y'all do this. Here, have a hive tool. So take out one of the side frames, one of the end frames.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take that one out.
So you don't use one of the gripper things like you showed?
I don't.
Is that a beetle?
Probably.
I missed
If
him.
it's not a bee, it's a beetle. Yeah. I can't get them all either.
Okay, so I don't know where my pocket's at.
I don't
want
ever
be
use
in my
mine.
pocket. So I'm just gonna pick him up and
Just pull it up. And this one, you don't have to worry about squishing anybody because that's just foundation.
And you said you always just flip yours over like this to inspect it. Do I remember you telling me that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The light ones, and see there's a beetle. And we're going to try to just, and these things are hard to squish.
Oh, there's another one.
They're hard to squish, especially if you've got a lot of bees and you're trying not to squish the bees. The light ones, you can flip over, you know, real easy. The heavier ones, sometimes it's easier to kind of flip it like a book page, and get it on its side and then heft it up.
Okay.
But this is a good one to practice with because it's very light.
So the piece of cotton, was that did you have
That's a Swiffer, piece of a Swiffer pad, and it'll trap beetles. This one doesn't have any trapped in it, but that's what that's in there for.
Well,
And let me give this back to you. We'll take out this next one just so that we can see the side of the comb and see if there's anything interesting to look at. And then I just prop them in the front like this. That way, any of the bees that are on the frame, if they want to go inside, it's just right there. The young bees, and you don't have to smoke every frame that comes out because you can give them too much smoke.
Okay.
oh yeah, there's a
Stupid
bunch.
hive beetles. The bees, when they first emerge, can't fly, and so if
I did that all wrong. I'm just the bull in the china cabinet. Like,
It's all right. The bees, when they first emerge, can't fly, and so especially those, they're the ones that tend to the baby bees. So if you get down in the middle where you've got babies, I really like to put those down here in the front because if they fall off, I don't want to have to crawl half a mile back to the front door. So they're right here by the front, and they can have an easy time to get in.
Okay.
So
But there's no brood on that one.
do you stack them on top? So would
I
you
do.
stack it like?
Yeah, and here, before we put this one away, here's something to look at. You see how these cells are bigger than these?
Yes, ma'am.
Those are dry.
This is for drones. The drones are the male bees, and they're bigger than the workers, which are female. This is worker comb. And sometimes if you don't have it side by side, it can be hard to differentiate. But a lot of times, and see, here's another thing, don't do this. This is a medium frame. That's a deep box. That's why there's burr comb along the bottom.
Gotcha.
And burr comb is just comb where you don't want it. Okay? I don't want this here. So a lot of times what I'll do is when I have this happen, and it's one of these things where I need a frame so they won't make burr comb. Well, I stuck a medium frame in there because at least it gives them something to work along, and a lot of times they'll make it straight across the bottom, and that's easier to deal with than that. And then if they fill it up with honey, I can scrape it off and extract it.
So
But you wouldn't have honey. Would you have honey in the drone combs?
They will put it in there.
Will
If
they?
it's
Okay.
if it's upstairs with all the honey, they'll put it in there.
Okay.
So will they, if your boxes are full and you don't have any, you have a regular, your frames in there like they need to be, do they make drone homes on just regular? Do you see
They
what I'm?
can. Up here, they
Yes.
can. And we might see it on some of these others,
Okay.
but they can do it. It's usually
Smoke lady.
kind of down at the bottom or maybe along the top. They don't usually do it in the middle, but they can do whatever they want.
I'm just fascinated. It just amazes me that they
What we
do
might
so much work and make so much, and
I wonder.
they're just so beautiful.
I'm wondering if this comb is attached to that frame.
It doesn't
at
look
all.
like it to
I
me.
don't think it is.
You want me to pop it right here?
I was wondering about taking the box off, and we could look at the comb from the sides and see if there's anything to see in there. And I haven't been out here in so long, except for the other day I did come and look at a few hives. I haven't been out here in a long
So you want the
time.
whole box off?
Yeah, see if you can loosen up the back.
And just stick it in there and pull up, or
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the
You ready?
propolis.
Yeah, the propolis.
That the propolis.
Be
That's
like-
Okay.
smoke lady.
And
Oh my
I'm just
goodness!
gonna
How
sit
cool
here.
is that?
yeah, so again, this is
Wow.
not a situation you want.
I know you're filming a
I know
box.
you're fine. You got look.
Now or
Yeah, I'm like
wondering.
smoke lady.
Since they're
You need to smoke
since
it or
they're loud, and buzzing around, you give them a little smoke, not too much. You can always give them a little bit more.
So what are, there's these cells that have covers. Are those the eggs? Like you can see some that are kind of like white
Okay,
and they got a
so
bubble
this
on
is
it.
good. This is a good one to look at. This is
cool.
worker brood over here.
Okay.
This is drone brood, and I can tell because it's humped up. The drones are bigger, and they've got to have bigger cells with more space. And so anytime you see the humped up stuff, that's drone brood. This nice, smooth, kind of flat brood, that's the worker brood. There's another hive beetle. And you can see there's some beetles embedded in this.
Okay, so that
This has been in
so-
here for a while.
so then you just
And I pull it out,
put some.
and then I'll replace it.
Now, do you put it on the like the outer edges? Is that
I
what
like
you're
to put
thinking?
mine, I take one sheet and tear it into 4 strips,
Okay.
and I like to put a strip here and a strip here, and the same thing on the other side,
Okay.
because usually when I see beetles, they're around the edges.
Okay.
Bob Love, I think it's him, he just takes one and wads it up in there, and that works for him. So,
So I did buy the beetle catcher things.
Uh-huh.
I bought some.
we're gonna have
That you
time
put
to get
oil
that.
in them or something. Yeah.
There's some down here, and we'll see if we can get these out because they need to be replaced and refilled. Well, not replaced. They need to be refilled. These are reusable beetle traps. And I think what we'll do is when I get these out, we'll see if we get that box back over that comb. Yeah, see these get filled up with beetles and
The smoker
crud.
lady's over here just chatting away. Just
I know.
he said this one's angry.
You got an angry one?
I can hear buzzing around my head.
See,
How do you want me to? You tell me when to move my tool.
move yours out.
Okay.
Pretty good. And then anytime you restack boxes, try to get them even,
even as-
on there. Now,
So the queen is probably in the bottom box.
she could be in the bottom or she could be in here somewhere. And I'm not gonna mess with this right now because I don't have empty frames and rubber bands and knives to deal with it. But what I will do is I will come back with
So
with
is
some
there,
empties.
I hate to ask a stupid question. So is there honey all in this already? Is,
No.
Okay,
This is empty.
okay.
I can see this is all empty. I don't see. Okay, come around here and look in these cells towards the top.
I thought something was falling over his head.
You can see some shiny stuff in some of these top cells if you get the light right. And we should be able to see some better in this next hive because I don't have the burn on everywhere. There is some nectar in there that haven't capped. Right now it's early to have capped honey. If we find any cap, it's probably from last year that they haven't eaten. But what I'll do is I'll take some frames that don't have the foundation in them and I'll cut this comb so that it fits between the top and the bottom bars, and then I'll use big rubber bands to rubber band it in there, and then I'll put it back in there if it has brood in it. Some of this like this piece, I can't see this side in here obviously. That side doesn't have any brood in it. If this is just totally empty comb, I'm gonna pull it out and I'll melt it down and filter it and clean it up. If it's got brood in it, I'll rubber band it into a frame and let the brood emerge. And then as soon as I can get it out and not sacrificing the bees, then I'll do that.
So the cells on this side, do they go all the way through, or is there a cell on this side and a cell on this side?
Yes, that's the way it is.
Okay,
Both-
so if they
both
have
sides.
brood on both sides and you rubber band it, is that still okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll kill some of the brood doing that just because
It's just,
it's
yeah,
hard not to. But you'll save a lot. I mean, hundreds or thousands of bees.
of bees. Okay.
And I want them out. And I will put a queen excluder. I make sure she's in the bottom. Put a queen excluder in there. That way she can't lay more in
Okay.
there. Because I don't want to have to do this again.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
go ahead and
Now, do you usually straighten, like line them up?
it's good. If I had a full 10, I would smush them all together and make sure that they were in the middle of the box
Okay.
so that we have all the bee space. I have
Okay.
such a mess in here anyway that I'm not real worried about it.
Okay.
And this frame is all foundation, so I'm hoping that they'll kind of start working on that. And
So
So,
you
I gotta come up
you flipped your frames. You put your outer frame here and put that shorter frame to the outside, right?
I did, and that was an accident.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, I've
purposeful.
got to.
I
Sometimes I will do it on purpose.
okay.
In this case, I just didn't remember which one was where.
Okay.
And like I said, since I've got this mess here, I need to come back pretty soon and deal with this,
Okay.
and then I'll deal with all this other.
Okay.
But I did want to show you all the bird cone.
That's
and
really
it's
cool.
So
aggravating.
this cone, can you take it out and just trash it and then put new frames in there, or you can?
You can. But I'm not just going to throw it away.
You're gonna
I'm
use
gonna
it.
melt it down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could
But-
use it for wax.
For
and-
wax.
Okay.
And then you could, some people, these pieces of foundation come waxed when you buy them.
Mhm.
Some people like to go ahead and put some extra wax on there. What I'm planning to do is pull out some of these frames that, like I had wax moths, and so I've scraped all the junk off and re-wax those. Because a lot of times, if you have wax moths and you scrape the junk off, then they'll draw wax out, but they may leave gaps, and they don't do a very good job with it. So I'm planning to use my wax to refurbish the nasty frames that I have.
Okay.
And there's a lot of, propolis and stuff along the top here that at some point I need to scrape off.
So do you
But I'm not
keep
gonna
your
do that today.
propolis for antibiotic
I
type stuff?
have not, because this is pretty nasty. I did buy one propolis trap because I thought that should be clean propolis,
Yeah.
and I'm going to use that. And it looks kind of like a queen excluder, but it's smaller. None of the bees can fit through the little slits,
Okay.
and since nobody can fit through, they put propolis in there. And it's flexible. So what you do is you take it out and you put it in your freezer, and then you can crack it, kind of like an ice cube tray, and the propolis just pops off, and then you can put in your alcohol and do all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I thought, I'm just gonna buy one because I can put it, on this hive or that hive or whatever.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't think there's any sense putting it on all of them. I got thinking, it might be better to do that than scrape it off of
You're
this
next.
box where I've been smushing hive
Yeah.
needles and stuff.
Was there any reason why this one doesn't have a cap or a
The inner cover,
inner cover?
because I don't like them.
Okay.
So I have a piece
I
of
just-
canvas that just natural canvas
Mhm.
that I iron and I put between the top and the first layer. Now the bees
Okay.
eat holes in it, but it makes it easy for me to get my lids off. Is that something good or I don't?
I've never heard of it or thought about it.
I don't know. The beekeeper
If
I
it
learned
works
from,
for you,
that's what he was taught, and so you know how you just keep cutting off the end of that ham bone.
yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
So,
I have never heard of that, so I don't know what to tell you about it.
I mean, it works beautifully.
Yeah. You might ask Robert Jones if he's
he
ever
ever
heard
done
of it,
that.
because he's been doing this for a long time. He's talked to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and he may have heard of it. I've just never heard of it, so I don't have any idea. I can't think that it would hurt anything. Yeah. So I do have trouble with, since I don't have the inner cover, I do have trouble getting these lids off that have, the telescope on all four sides.
Oh, yes.
I like to make and use the lids like this, where I leave a side off, because then, you can get I've got that one staggered. You can get your hive tool in there and get it off. And then if I've got my little blocks, which this doesn't, then I can either have it propped open, when it's back here like this, or I can slide it forward and close it. So it gives me some easy options.
So if you have it open, propped like you showed in class with the blocks, do you have to be concerned, like I'm talking summer, because it's so vicious in the summer, do you have to worry about rain getting in?
What I do is I'll slide it as far forward as I can
Okay,
to prop it. So it, there usually is a little bit of an overhang,
okay,
but even if it's, we're talking 3/8 of an inch. That's not much.
Okay.
And even if it's, flush with the front,
uh-huh,
you're going to have a pretty vicious sideways rain for it to
Okay.
get in there, I think.
Okay.
But I'm not really, giving it a lot of concern. I do, like I said, slide it as far forward as I can,
okay,
so that it has a little bit of lip, but
Okay.
I'm not losing sleep over it. Now this one,
okay.
and these things, we have a burn pile over there, so I'm just going to put that in there. If
You want me to
didn't
be the
have
smoker?
that-
Yeah, I thought somebody else might want to have a chance. I've never been instructed, I just have fumbled with it for years.
I just remember y'all said, is this the time whenever it can get hot?
yeah, I think it can anyway. So, puff it a few times so that smoke is getting, white and thick,
Okay.
and then give them a little. They say that the hive beetles can smell the stuff and everything, the wax and the beehives. So they say don't leave this sitting around the bee yard because you could attract others.
Okay.
So
That's
we're gonna
a
burn
lot.
this, and I'm gonna put it in there.
Smoke
But if I
doesn't
didn't
make
care, I would put this in a card here.
No, I don't know what it means when she said over smoke it. So I don't.
Carol.
Am I over smoking it?
Yeah, that's probably,
That's a forest fire.
I used to not, I've used not enough and thought, what in the world's wrong? And so,
So when they're pretty antsy and buzzy, that's kind of when you might need to smoke them a little bit more, huh?
Unless you've given them a lot of smoke and aggravated them.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Back up.
okay. Let me get out from in front of the
And
front.
also, like I said, it's still on the cool side, and there are a lot of bees in here that haven't started their daily foraging activities. So you've got more bees in here
They're normal.
than are going to be here at 2 o'clock. So that's
I'm
one
smoking
thing.
us.
It's cooler in the mornings and evenings, so you think, oh, that's when I'll go and check on my bees. There are going to be more bees in there early and later.
So it's, do you, with your experience, think it's better to check them later when they're up and moving around rather than in the morning when they're still trying to wake up and?
I like fewer bees in the box.
Okay.
So if I can come out, and I don't like being out here at 2 o'clock, but there are fewer bees in the box at 2 o'clock.
Right. Okay.
So sometimes you got to do it when you can
Do
you
it.
can do it.
Right.
You don't have choice. If 10 o'clock is when you've got time to do it, then that's when you're going.
But if it's a nice, pretty sunny day at 10 or 10:30, they may already be up and going.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is, it's still
Gloomy and
really cool. But there's some days when, 10 o'clock, they've been out for hours.
right.
So
Okay.
So there was a queen here. Is there a queen in here?
I sure hope so.
And so what stops the bees from going into the other hive?
Guard bees.
Guard bees? Okay.
Yeah, so these bees, they have their little GPS set to come back here.
Okay.
And those bees have their GPS set to go back there.
Okay.
And there are different smells in that hive than there are in this one.
Okay.
Because the queen is different, she smells
Okay.
different genetics and stuff like that. If this bee ends up over there because she was distracted on her way home, she will probably get stopped by a guard bee.
Okay.
Now, if there's a lot of traffic and there's people are bringing in pollen and honey by the buckets, then she's probably going to get in.
Okay.
And then she's going to dump her load and go back out, and she'll probably end up where she's supposed to
Okay.
be later. But yeah, they will sometimes drift. If you've got 10 white hives all in a row, they're going to drift.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are, and they tend. I think I read that they tend to be like they drift downwind. I've also read that they tend to drift towards the outside hives. That those are going to be a little heavier than the ones in the middle. But they could get in.
Okay, so on my hives, I'm only starting with 2 hives right now because
Okay.
I want to get, but whenever I decide to add to my hives, so at the front of our property we'll have flowers and whatnot, but the whole point of my bees is really because I want a pumpkin patch. And last year we did a pumpkin patch, and pumpkins have to be, you get the first flower and it has to be pollinated before you get the second flower, which makes your fruit.
Okay.
So, is it going to hurt that I have some at the front of my property, some at the back of my property?
They'll fly up to 5 miles.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
because I want 2 back by my pumpkins so that they will hopefully gravitate toward those when it's time, and
Yeah.
and maybe we can have pumpkin honey. But
They ought to find it.
okay,
They'll fly up to 5 miles.
okay,
If there's stuff closer, they probably won't go 5 miles, but they'll find them.
okay.
All right, who wants to open this one? And I opened it the other day, so it shouldn't be really stuck down.
I just lift it up. Or,
Mhm.
now he's already done his thing. Does he need to do it more?
Well,
he did it a lot.
when you get the lid a little bit up, you kind of listen, maybe take a peek under the edge, see what they're doing. And if you see a lot of bees staring at you, then I'd give them a little smoke.
So do you open it away from yourself? Like,
I
I
tend
know
to.
I tend to
I-
go
I
from the
do.
opposite side.
Like
so,
this way?
Yeah,
Yes, because if they're angry, I don't want them all funneled up to my
your tummy.
midsection.
How do you tell if they're angry if
They're
you can't
angry.
see them?
Well, I just make a habit of tilting
Right
the
smoke.
other side up first. So,
Is that fine?
yeah, that way. And then just keep opening up that way. Pretend like it's hinged on your side.
And then,
And see, they're going out that way instead of right to your belly.
is it good to take it off now? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Go
can hear
ahead
them.
and give them a little more smoke.
Ooh, they are pissed. These are ones that are really pissed.
And you know, they could still be not happy about the weather yesterday. This is why I give them 3 chances.
Before
You know, before I killed the queen. Because when I was here the other day, they were fine. Now we had rain, you know, last night. This morning it's still overcast. So, you know,
So if you smoke them too much, does it just make them more angry?
Yep.
With smoking them.
Okay, I'm gonna quit smoking them.
yeah. So we'll let them calm down a little bit. And see, I've got the full 10 frames in there. This is what you want. 10 frames wall to wall. Now, I say that there's almost always exceptions to everything. If this were a honey box, then you can take one of those out and have 9 frames. Don't squish them all together in the middle because then you can have problems on the edges. But if you put 9 in there, use your hive tool and kind of space them out evenly all the way across, and they can draw that wax out further. We call it overdrawn, and 9 frames that are overdrawn will give you more honey than 10 that are perfectly drawn. And also, when it's time to extract honey, this is what wax moths. That's what wax moth damage looks like. This one is drawn nicely, but if this were full of honey and I wanted to extract it and I went to uncap it with my knife, I'm going to be able to cut some caps off, but I may miss some because my knife won't reach. And then I'll have to use a capping scratcher, and it'll work, and I'll get the honey out. But if I've got 9 frames and they're overdrawn, that wax will sit well above the wood, and you can cut it off real easy. You can cut everything open, and the honey flows out a lot better. And if you have to use the capping scratcher. So a lot of people will put 9 frames in their honey supers, not the brood box, but in the honey supers. And I've heard you can even do as few as 6, but I think there's some tricks involved in getting to draw it nicely. So I wouldn't try that. I may have done 8 when I was short a frame, but I do try to do 9 because it's so much easier to extract when you can get all the wax off.
So your honey is on that second box, on the top. If
It'll
you've
be
got
on the
honey
top.
on the top.
It'll be on the top. Most people will have 2 deeps for brood and then honey above that.
Okay.
Like this one didn't make any honey last
Okay.
year. All right, go ahead and take out one of those edge frames. There's nothing on it. I think it's just foundation. And this is where the first frame is really hard to get out. This hive tool has the J hook on the end, and it's nice because you can put it in here and pry it up, and then you maybe stick this under here or grab it on this end and then do the same thing on the other end. I do like the J hook for that. However, I like the curved end for popping those frames apart from each other, and this will work, but I just find it more difficult than the curved end. So what I really like is a one like
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
maybe
so
the next money
that
maker.
was just
Design
foundation.
one.
There you go.
And then that one, can't tell what's on the other side. If it's just foundation, you may just want to scoot it over but leave it in the box. And that's where the curved end is nice. You can put it in there. And
Y'all really piecing them off.
give them a little more smoke. They may just, we may have to abandon this one and try another.
They're like, hey, get out.
They're saying it's too early.
Let me see if I can find something that we can look at that's interesting real quick, and we may just close this one up and try somebody else.
Yeah, they're not happy. They're not happy at all.
And this is where I don't know if I'm over smoking them or.
Well,
she said
Oh
that
wow.
Oh, wow.
That is
hive has
just
been
amazing.
lots of brood.
All right, so you can see a variety of stuff here. And there's the shiny stuff in the corners is nectar. They'll turn it into honey. There's the queen. On the bottom,
Oh, I see. Right there.
right there.
Where? That little lady right there?
Uh-huh.
Oh
queen.
my goodness.
You see her?
Yep, she looks like a roach to me. They've always looked, they don't have the stripes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's probably why they're all worked up. I think.
Yeah, so there's the queen.
Is she usually supposed
Okay,
to be
so
in that
like,
bottom
look
box?
over here, a bee's about
think
to
either
come
one of
out.
these.
Look,
She doesn't
out of
have
this
eggs.
brood right here. See that one
So
right
she
there?
can go
Oh,
up
He's
yeah.
about to come out.
Yeah, there will be some.
See, he's working. You can see him moving around. He's working his way out, which I think is so cool to watch him
I don't know.
come out. That's
It
really
doesn't really.
There's one emerging right
Right there.
there. She's chewing her way out. And I know that's a girl because this is all worker brood.
There's a
What
couple
is
of them,
that?
aren't there?
Is that what
It's
is
a
that?
worm.
That is
A bad.
yeah, squish it. It's either hive beetle or wax moth.
Hold
And
on.
I have trouble
Here.
differentiating
You
the
want
two
to
of them.
squish him on
That's
this?
Definitely squish him on the side of the box or something.
Oh, I hope he popped.
that's probably a wax
Now
moth.
this one has some drone brood on the other side. Let me see if I can turn it around.
And that's that big fat right there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some drone brood down
I'm the
there.
only
There's
one
the
that
queen
thinks
again.
that these are just beautiful.
Oh, they are.
And there she is again. Oh my.
There's some larvae in there that's, multiple days old. And at some point they'll cap it over.
This little clear looking stuff.
Little white worms.
Yes.
Yeah, that's larvae.
So that's what Robert was having us do, was pull those
these-
out and to make queens, to
So-
attract queens.
Is there honey right here?
Well, it's not honey yet.
Okay.
It's not ripe, but that will be honey. And the way that we'll know that it's ripe is they'll have it covered over in wax.
Ah,
And it'll look different from the brood. It'll well, looks kind of like that.
oh, I see one capped right there.
Oh, okay.
It's a lighter color. Here's
It's just
a little bit up here.
Oh, cool.
It's a lighter,
Smoke.
Nope.
waxier topping than this. This looks more like cardboard or leather, but the honey caps look more like wax.
Ah,
Okay. It's gonna.
That's pretty cool.
Um,
Where'd she go?
And today I don't know if we have enough light to see eggs.
I don't know that I'll ever be able to see no eggs looking at my.
She's on the bottom.
Is she?
But a lot of times to see eggs, you've got to have it up like this with the sunlight over your
Right.
shoulder and look down in there. And I don't have enough light to see eggs today. But
A gazillion of them.
and then okay, so she's on this side on the bottom, and so I'm gonna keep an eye on her and put her back down in there, and we'll close these up because they're
They're pissed.
not very. All right, now
Okay, so you need to squish them to together, right?
yeah. And I'm gonna be very careful with that frame because I know
she's on it.
Now she's probably not on the outside edges, but
Does she?
You know-
Do they tend to stay more to the middles?
they do. These are pretty close together, so I'm just gonna push them at the same time.
Because she could be on the other side of that one.
And and of course there are bees all in here, and I don't want to squish them. So I try to just ease them together real quick,
So that they'll
slowly,
move?
so that if they
They feel
they'll
it touch,
move.
they'll move.
they'll move out of the way, we won't have any issues. And then this last one in here.
There is no way my husband's gonna.
And since we do have full 10, we're going to make sure that all the shoulders are touching, and there should be a little space on each side. And then, so if you have an inner cover, if you've got bees on your inner cover, a lot of people will tap it either on the ground or over here to shake the bees off, and then replace it. Some people will just kind of ease it down, you know, flat. Some people will put
Boy, they
the
just keep,
front edge
keep
on
bouncing off my
and
suit.
kind of slide it across. So you'll see what you want to do. I don't have one, so I'm just going to ease this down. And I tend to, you know, kind of go down and touch it a little bit and pull it back up. That way, if there's a bee there, maybe she'll move. And then put it down, and maybe we won't squish anybody.
What's going on over there behind you?
That's a good question. They may have decided that
Oh wow.
they were disrupted over there, so they're hanging out over here. I'm looking to see if they happen to be a queen that they're following. I don't know why there would be. I don't know why they're deciding to hang out on this box.
So what would you do? Would you be concerned that that's a swarm? Is I guess what I'm asking. Or
I
do
would,
you?
I would keep it in the back of my mind. At the moment, there's nothing to do with it. Now, later in the day, if they're still here, I'll look again for a queen. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're these bees. We
Right.
just saw the queen.
So you think they're just?
I think they just got aggravated, and, you know, this smells good. It's had bees in there. And they will, I suspect that they'll drift back over there later
Okay.
when things settle down.
So at what point would you add another box? Like when would you feel,
Rule of thumb is when seven of the 10 frames are full of whatever. Could be brood, if it's a brood box, could be
And the smoke, been smoke banned.
7 out of 10 frames are full, you add another box. If, let's say you buy a newt and you've got your newt in a 10 frame box, and they start filling out, you know, making comb on the foundation, and then you've got like 2 or 3 that are just foundation on the edges, add another box. She's going to be laying eggs, and when that next box has 7 out of 10, it's all drawn out,
put another?
add another box.
And so you won't add your supers until May, June? When do you
Maybe
put your
April. When 2 boxes are full.
You want to put a super, you don't put a third box and then a super.
The queens would have a hard time filling 3 boxes with brood.
Okay.
Some of them can. And then some people will put a queen excluder on there, so there's no way she's going to fill a 3rd box. I don't usually use them. I tried some last year. I was like, okay, I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to put queen excluders on some and not on others. And I don't know if I can tell a difference.
So anyway, every year I lose at least one of my hives to swarming. So I wondered, why do we not have an excluder on the bottom to keep it from swarming? Why do you? I mean,
I don't know.
because I'm like, if I can put this excluder down there and keep the queen, they're not going to leave without
Right.
mama.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't
mean, it
know.
ought
I'm
to
just
work.
thinking.
Right. It ought to work. You keep her in the box. They can't swarm without her.
If you put an excluder below the top box, would that make honey up there? Okay.
Yeah. If the queen can't get up there and lay eggs, all they can do is put honey in there.
So do you typically try to keep the queen in the lower box and have that queen excluder, or does it not really matter?
Most people want her to stay in the bottom 2 boxes, 2 deeps, or if you're using all mediums, 3 mediums. In our area, you know, down here, most people have 2 deeps or 3 mediums for brood. And then if you're using a queen excluder, you'll have a queen excluder on top of that, and then you'll stack your honey boxes. Some people don't use queen excluders. I don't. But when I get ready to extract honey, I've got to look at the frames and see, is there brood in this frame or not? Well, if there is, I don't extract it. And if there's not, I'll take it home and extract it.
So you could put in April, early May, you could put an excluder in between your super and your brood box to make sure you get only honey in your super.
Yeah.
And then that's what you take home.
Yes.
This is the super boxes. So you
Yeah.
don't have those on here yet.
Right. Yeah, those are not on. So this will just be brood. And now there will be some honey in there, but the bees need that. So you don't want to take that. But above that is excess. And that's what we can take. Now these things, and we'll talk about these, Joni's going to do pests and diseases. You can buy these from the beekeeping supply places. You can also buy them from Amazon, a lot cheaper. And this kind has a little flap inside, and the idea is you put vinegar, apple cider vinegar in here to attract them to the smell, and then you put vegetable oil in there, and the beetles go in and they drown the oil. You can use used cooking oil or any of the cheap stuff. Don't use your nice extra virgin olive oil. Some people put diatomaceous earth in here. I haven't tried that, so I don't know. And it will catch beetles, but you've got to check on them because sometimes they'll get junked up like this one was, and the bees will put propolis in here, and then the beetles can't fit in there. So sometimes you got to clear the propolis out. And if it's got oil in it, and you're checking your hives, and you want to move the frame it's hanging on, well, you've got to take this off and find a place to put it where it won't tip over and spill oil all on your bees. So these, if you don't fill them too full, that's probably going to be okay. You can kind of prop them up like this, and these are reusable. There's some that are disposable. They're not going to sit up like this because they don't have these little feet on them. Those are a pain, but I don't like throwaway stuff. That's just me.
And they're $3.50 a piece. I bought some this week from Whiting Creek. I was like, dang. And it's nothing but, there's nothing to it for $3.50.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd try it.
They're almost gone
They
already.
calmed down.
Yeah.
They moved back.
I think they were just.
I think they saw me hand you the smoking
No way.
container.
They said,
He's gone.
safe to go back.
Yeah.
I like your question about the queen excluder on the very bottom, so you keep your queen in there, at least so they can.
Now, you're going to trap your drones inside if you
That's
do
true
that,
because they're bigger.
because they cannot fit through that queen. The queen is going to fit through before the drones do.
Yeah.
And I've done this before when I had a swarm and I put the excluder on the bottom to keep her in there. Well, I had some drones in there. They were trapped in there too. I don't know that it hurts anything, but all they're just going to do is they're going to be sitting there eating and not do anything else.
Yeah. Well, the queen,
But
because they won't kill them. They won't kill the drones in a
Not
confined
until
space.
Wintertime comes and then they'll thin the herd, but so that's an issue that I see. I don't know if there's anything else that I'm not thinking about. But the queen excluders, they do slow down the traffic.
Okay.
And that's why some people call them honey excluders. Because if you've got a queen excluder on here, and then you got your honey supers, the bees are coming in down there. They're handing off the nectar to a house bee. House bee's got to go up here, then go through the excluder and store
It's
stuff
another
away.
step. Yeah.
So it slows things down.
Okay. I can
Um,
see that.
So I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like every year I lose 1 to 2 hives to swarming.
Well, you might put up one of those bait hives. Were you at the meeting
I was.
Thursday? Put up a bait hive, and it doesn't have anything fancy. It could be just an empty hive.
Okay.
Just set it out there somewhere. So we had a boat out here earlier. My parents had it, and that box over there that's on the trailer,
Yeah.
or the smoker,
Uh-huh.
I had that sitting on the boat
Uh-huh.
because it was like right here at chest level,
Uh-huh.
And I had some lemongrass oil in there, had some old comb in there, and I ended up with bees in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a swarm issue, or there might have been a wild one, but it was likely one of mine, and they went into the box.
Okay. And then you just.
And then I moved them into a 10 frame. I think that one holds like 8 frames. So, and it's solid on the bottom, and I can't stack anything on it because I've got another one that's also that size, but it's got the solid bottom, so I can't stack them up.
Yeah.
So I moved those frames into a 10 framer,
Okay.
and then I could stack them up.
Okay.
I had some equipment on my back porch up at the house, and I was gonna, clean the frames up from the wax moths or whatever. I had bees move into it. So it was a swarm, and they moved in because it smelled like honey. So you don't have to have anything fancy, but if you've got a box that's had bees in it, just sit it out there near your bee yard, and they may go in there instead of up in the trees.
And then I noticed y'all talked about the water things at bee school. Is this one of your watering?
That's wood shavings that I
Oh.
was gonna spread around under the hive to keep the weeds down,
Okay.
and I never did do it.
Okay.
And
But
now
that's what
it's-
he's talking about, just
Yeah.
on the propane buckets. And then what do you float in the top for the?
some people use scraps of wood.
Okay.
Some people use pool noodles.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Some people just use sticks.
Okay.
That just the bees can walk up the sticks.
Okay.
Um,
Because I know my external feeders have got wire, so just cheap feed wire. But they can fly off,
I just recently came across the pony. Ooh, that is genius because those are like $1 or $2, and you could cut them
Cut
into
'em up.
sections to fit in there, and so that would be real good.
I think that's the next shift.
About 11 o'clock.
Is it? Wow.